Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Intellectually Speaking. My name is Robert, and with TikTok being down, y'all get to see my face on most days whenever I get done doing Rideshare. Today was not a bad day. Actually, for about a Sunday, it's about the average. And I've been doing Lyft this week because Uber's been really wonky. What I mean by that, it's whenever you start to see patterns and you start to see trends that you can no longer deny, you have to take notice. And so one of the things that I've noticed with Uber in the past week, maybe 2 weeks, is whatever you earn in the first 2 hours of driving, or not first 2 hours, first 2 rides, that will be your average for every 2 rides thereafter. This is something that I've been noticing more specifically over the last several months. But it wasn't until I started looking at my data and analyzing the data that I keep on Microsoft Excel spreadsheets that I really started to notice. And so that's exactly what it was been. There was one day where they had me at $10 an hour. And with the exception of 2 hours, all the hours thereafter was close to within just a few cents of what I made that very first hour. Now, something else too is however many miles you drive that first ride, whether it be going to pick that passenger up. Well, that's actually the thing. However many miles you drive to pick that passenger up, that will be your average on mileage per trip thereafter. The goal of Uber is to get you to drive, if they can get you on that very first trip, to get you drive farther for a shorter with passenger trip, that's all that you'll get. That in and of itself should tell you that you're not going to make any money that day. But with the 2 ride thing, you can literally forecast how much you're going to make times how many hours you drive that day within a 10 to 15% margin. I kid you not. It's that accurate. Now, with that being said, let's talk about Lyft for a second. Lyft has been pretty decent this week, but there's a couple different things that I've noticed. One thing in particular happened the other day. I had a passenger give me a $30 tip. Okay. I stopped off at Buc-ee's in Temple to grab some breakfast. At which point I keep money, and if you have a Lyft account, you can keep money in your goal area. I keep all my money over there, and whenever I make a purchase, I just take, once I find out what the total is, I go into the app, move money over, cash out, good. Okay, I don't keep any money active in my account. So, whenever I moved that money over, there was no money in my account. Zero. Whenever I got back to Waco, I saw that my total had increased. I'm like, oh, so I went in, saw that I got a $30 tip. So then I go back into the account to move that $30 over to my goal account. I had $14.88. What Lyft did, and I'm going to share something with you here in a second. They deposited the $30 into my direct Lyft account, and then they took out for themselves $15.12. There's no way to prove otherwise. Even showing them the bank account did no good. So at that point, once I got tired of talking in circles with the person I was dealing with, I'm like, that's it. I'm not going to get my money back. So what I started doing was in your Lyft account, if you go to account and go to pay, you can turn Lyft Direct off. So that way, at the end of your day, you can take and go back in, turn Lyft Direct on, and dump all that money into your account simultaneously. So that way, what they say that you make averages how much goes into your account. Even before you even deposit it, you'll look down there and say, okay, this is how much they said that I got. This is how much they said I have to deposit it, go into your bank account and look at it and see if all three of those totals match. If they don't, then you have a problem. The only exception to the rule is if you use a different bank account, then you subtract $1.25. Now, I caught Lyft 2 years ago. They did this exact same thing. I'd gotten 2 tips. It was on a Sunday, in fact. And I knew how much I had in my account. This was before I started using my Goal account. I knew how much I had. Whenever I deposited the money into or looked at the account, I'm like, wait a minute, something's odd, because I went back in and I added everything up. What was missing was those 2 tips. They had deposited the tips into the account, and then they reached in and took them right back out again because they were giving discounts. I think that's whenever they do it, is if they give a heavy discount. I didn't look at how much that passenger was charged going to Belton. But if they give heavy discounts, they'll take the tip back. Just like on long distance rides. With all the long distance rides I've ever received on Lyft, only one person has ever tipped. I have long suspected that Lyft keeps the tips on long distance rides. But there's no way to know that. None at all. So, that's something that you have to deal with. Something else Lyft does is if you accept a ride for a certain price, and then if you go back in and say you're at the pickup point to pick the passenger up, if you look at that price again, you may see it have changed. And you'll think that you're going freaking crazy. I had it happen today. I had it happen one day last week where they took $3 off of a $9 ride. I accepted the ride for $9.16. Okay? I get to the point, I open up my laptop to put my time that arrived and my mileage to pick up, and I wanted to take and put the price in. It was minus $3. Today, the ride was a $5.69 ride. Whenever I got or dropped the guy off, at the point, it was $5.16. Now, this is what they do. They use numbers that look a lot alike. 9 can look like a 6 if you do a quick glance at it. An 8 can look like a 5. An 8 can look like a 6. This is what they do. And so you think you're going fucking crazy. I'm dead serious. You think you're going fucking crazy. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not what that ride was. They do this a lot with mileage too. They'll flip numbers around and make you make you think one thing. And you're like, wait a minute, damn, this ride's long. And then you get to look, oh, okay. They do that a lot as well too. But overwhelmingly during certain times of the month, Lyft is better than Uber is. In the middle of the month, I don't even try to drive for Uber at all. On Lyft, that's when you make your money. Lyft gets greedy at the end of the month. That's whenever I primarily drive for Uber. So you have to know when these apps get greedy. But all in all, it was not a bad day out on the roads considering it was a Sunday and it's cold. All right. So I hit early, the rides were good, and then they just started to kind of slack off a little bit. And once I got a $3.15 ride, I'm like, that's it, I'm done. Because at that point, I'm getting close to $100. I was at $80. And what they do is they start cutting back on those roads to keep you out on the roads longer. That's the lowest I've made this week. Every day this week, I've made over $100 this week. Well over $100. But I'm going to do a short on this talking about magic. I started doing my magic differently. And that's key as being a witch. It truly made a difference in my day. Whether you believe in it or not, magic is a real thing. Just ask my ex-husband. Because he lost everything after the curse that I put on him. But by far and large, my days have started turning around. But I also started knowing stuff, and I will talk about this in future videos, where Uber, once you get to a certain point, and I brought this up with the passenger today, he nailed it right on the head. I said, once I'd get to a point, and it happened several times this week, or no, last week, I get right around 10:30, 11 o'clock, I wouldn't get any more rides. None. Zero. They would literally cut me off. I'm like, wait a minute. Because with Lyft, you get rides all the time. But with Uber, I hit $85 and they would shut me down, force me to log off. And what the passenger said is, because it sounds like that they're trying to give other drivers a chance. I'm like, you're exactly right. I said, it looks like they're trying to level the playing field. And I've had that happen multiple times in the past. You get to a point, they will not give you any more rides. You could sit there for 2 hours and not get a ride one. Nothing. And you're like, no, that ain't the way my Waco is. Because you always get those midday runs of people going to work. Always. They shut it down on me. And it happened. It virtually happened almost every day last week. And another reason behind that too, I truly believe, is because they want to control my earnings. Now, this I've known for a very long time. They do not want you to make too much money. They will start to turn off the spigot, if you will, once you start approaching a very specific amount. Uber doesn't like you to go over $700. That's my personal experience. $800 at the most. Lyft at $650. Once you start hitting around the $600 range, they're going to start turning it off. And if they don't turn it off, they're going to start lowballing you on the rides. So these are some things to be very, very wary of whenever it comes to rideshare. But you will start seeing me on shorts more and more. You know, I think it's only a minute. I'll see how far I can push it. I've seen longer shorts, so we'll see what happens. But with TikTok being banned as of today, it might come back tomorrow, y'all will start to see me more and more and more. I'm not a big fan of Reels because they take forever to upload. You have to leave the app open to upload. And I don't get that much traffic on Reels at all. Very little, in fact. But I like to talk about rideshare. I will talk about my magic. I will talk about me going back to school for computer programming, things like that. I will talk about a lot of different things on this platform. Stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. Like my videos. Leave a comment if you're a rideshare. If you've noticed some things that just don't make sense. And I bet I have an answer for you, depending on your market. So, until next time, thank you for watching Intellectually Speaking. My name is Robert, and we will talk to y'all later.